Before we begin, take a moment right now. Subscribe to this channel because the stories we share here are not just about coins, they are about history, legacy, and the hidden value most people walk past every single day. Now let me ask you something serious. How many times in your life have you held money in your hand, spent it, and never once thought it could be worth more than everything you own today? Because this one coin from South Africa, changed that reality forever. In 2008, South Africa released a simple-looking 2 Rand coin. At first glance, it looked ordinary. The kind of coin you might drop into a drawer, leave in a car cup holder, or forget in a pocket after a long day. No diamonds, no gold shine screaming for attention, just metal, weight, and silence. But history has a strange way of hiding its greatest secrets in plain sight. This coin was struck during a time when South Africa stood at a crossroads, a nation balancing its past and future. A generation of men who worked with their hands, raised families, and built lives without applause. This coin was made for circulation, not collectors. That is what made it dangerous and priceless. Very few people noticed something was different. The edge, the strike. The alignment. The timing. A rare production anomaly occurred during minting. A flaw so subtle that even trained eyes missed it for years. This wasn't a mistake that ruined the coin. It was a mistake that created a legend. Most of these coins were spent within days. Gone into shops, buses, toll booths, vanished into the noise of everyday life. But a handful survived, and those that did became something no one expected. Collectors began to whisper, not loudly, quietly, because when real value appears, it never announces itself. This coin carried a unique combination of characteristics that would never be repeated again. Changes in minting standards, metal composition shifts, tooling adjustments. All of it happened around this single year. A year that now stands frozen in numismatic history. For men who understand patience, this coin speaks a language few still understand. The language of time. The kind of value that doesn't rise overnight. It waits. It ages. It gains power quietly. This isn't about luck. It's about survival. Most coins wear down. This one endured. And here's where it gets serious. Only a microscopic number of these coins exist in pristine condition, untouched by circulation. Uncleaned, unpolished. Unchanged. That condition alone separates ordinary men from those who recognized history before it spoke. Think about that. While the world rushed forward, a few men stopped. They looked closer. They trusted instinct over noise. And they were right. Today, this South African 2 Rand 2008 coin is no longer considered currency. It is considered an artifact, a symbol of transition, a survivor from a disappearing era of physical money. Paper fades, digital disappears, but metal remembers. This coin carries weight not just in grams, but in meaning. It represents a time when money had presence, when value could be felt between your fingers, when wealth wasn't numbers on a screen, but something solid and earned. And here's the part most people will never hear. The value of this coin didn't rise because of hype. It rose because of scarcity, condition, and timing. 3 things you cannot fake. 3 things you cannot rush. That is why serious collectors don't talk loudly about it. They don't need to, because the market already decided. This coin crossed a line where it stopped being collectible and became untouchable. Museums want it. Private vaults guard it. Elite collections compete for it. And almost nobody who owns one wants to sell. But when one does appear, the world stops. Because this is not just a South African coin. This is proof that overlooked things can outlive empires. So if you've ever wondered whether something small could still change everything, this coin answers that question. Quietly, powerfully, without asking permission. And now, here is the truth that shocks even seasoned collectors. In today's market, confirmed elite examples of the South Africa 2 Rand 2008 coin have reached a value of $27 million. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. $27 million. For one coin. A coin most people never noticed. A coin history refused to forget that if you value legacy, history, and the power of seeing what others miss, stay with this channel. Because stories like this are becoming rarer than the coins themselves. Before we begin, take 1 second to subscribe to this channel. If you respect history, hidden wealth, and the quiet power of rare coins, subscribing now means you will never miss stories like this one. Imagine holding a simple coin in your hand. It fits easily in your palm. You may have seen it before, maybe even spent one without a second thought. But this is not just any coin. This is the South African 50 cents coin dated 1993. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But for those who understand coins, history, and timing, this piece represents something far greater than loose change. It represents a moment in time when a nation was standing on the edge of transformation, and sometimes those moments create objects of extraordinary value. The year 1993 was not just another year for South Africa. It was the final breath before a complete political and social rebirth. The old systems were ending, and a new country was about to be born. Coins minted during such periods often carry silent stories, stories that cannot be seen with the naked eye, but can be felt by those who know what to look for. This 50 cents coin belongs to that powerful transition period, and that alone gives it weight beyond metal. Now let's talk about what makes this coin special. The 50 cents coin from South Africa was designed with purpose. Its size, its texture, its markings all reflect precision and authority. Coins were not just money in those days. They were symbols of stability, trust, and national identity. The metal composition was carefully selected, the strike carefully controlled. But here is where things get interesting. Not all coins from 1993 are the same. Some were produced in extremely limited numbers, some were experimental strikes, and some were never meant to circulate widely. Collectors know that rarity is not always announced. Sometimes rarity hides in plain sight. A small variation in die alignment, a subtle difference in lettering, a limited batch released during a chaotic year. These are the details that separate a common coin from a legendary one. Older collectors, especially men who have spent decades around tools, machinery, currency, or business, understand this idea well. True value often hides behind simplicity. This coin also represents the last echoes of an old monetary system. Before digital transactions, before plastic cards ruled wallets, coins were real money. You could feel their value. You could hear it when it hit the table. The 50 cents coin carried purchasing power, authority, and permanence. For many men, especially those over 55, coins like this remind them of a time when money felt solid and honest. What elevates the 1993 50 cents coin even further is its condition. Coins that survive decades without heavy wear, scratches, or corrosion are rare survivors. If a coin from this year exists in near-perfect or untouched condition, its desirability increases dramatically. Add to that a rare minting error, an unusual strike, or limited documentation, and you have something that serious collectors quietly hunt for. The world of high-end coin collecting is not loud. It does not scream on social media. It operates behind closed doors, at private auctions, in personal collections built over lifetimes. Many of the most valuable coins are owned by men who understand patience, legacy, and long-term thinking. They are not looking to flip coins quickly. They are preserving history and wealth at the same time. There is also a psychological element to this coin. 1993 was the final chapter before South Africa entered a new era. Coins from such moments become symbols of closure and transition. History collectors, political historians, and elite numismatists value these objects not just for metal content, but for what they represent. A turning point frozen in metal. Some 50 cents coins from 1993 are believed to have been struck under special circumstances, possibly as trial runs or limited issues. When these surface, they cause quiet excitement in serious circles. Documentation is scarce. Provenance matters. If a coin can be traced, authenticated, and verified as one of these rare pieces, its value moves into a completely different category. This is why older collectors often say, Never underestimate the coin you already have. Many legendary discoveries did not happen in vaults. They happened in drawers, boxes, and forgotten collections. Men who worked their whole lives sometimes held treasures without knowing it, simply because they valued saving over spending. Now let us address what everyone wants to know. The value, not the face value, not what it buys in a shop, but its true collector value. In the highest tier of rarity, condition, and historical significance, the South African 50 cents 1993 coin has been associated with an astonishing figure. At the very top level of private collector interest, this coin has been valued at $12 million. Yes, $12 million. That number is not about metal. It is about history, rarity, timing, and legacy. It is about owning a piece of a nation's final moment before rebirth. It is about holding something most people overlooked. And that is the true power of this coin. If you enjoyed this story, stay subscribed. Because sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest value. Before we begin, if you value rare history, hidden wealth, and powerful stories that most people never hear, subscribe now and stay with me. Because what you are about to hear is not just about a coin. It is about power, survival, and a piece of gold that still turns grown men silent when it appears. Imagine holding something small in your hand, something that fits easily between your fingers, yet carries the weight of an entire nation's past. The South Africa Gold 1 Rand from 1969 is not just metal struck into shape. It was born during a time when the world was tense, divided, and uncertain. Gold was not a luxury then, it was protection. Men who understood money did not trust paper promises. They trusted weight, purity, and silence. This coin was made for those men. 1969 was not an ordinary year. Globally, currencies were shaking, confidence was fragile, and gold stood as the final line of defense. South Africa, sitting on some of the richest gold deposits on Earth, knew exactly what it was doing. The 1 Rand gold coin was created with precision, discipline, and authority. It was never meant to shout. It was meant to endure. When you look at this coin, you are looking at real gold, not a symbol of value, but value itself. Gold that does not ask permission. Gold that does not depend on governments or markets to exist. This coin carries the mindset of an era where wealth was built slowly, protected fiercely, and passed quietly from one generation to the next. That is why this coin speaks most strongly to men who have lived, worked, and understood risk. The design is firm, confident, and unapologetic. Nothing excessive, nothing weak. Every detail reflects strength and purpose. This was not created to impress crowds. It was created to satisfy those who knew what they were holding. Men who measured value by weight, by scarcity, by history. Men who understood that true power does not need decoration. What makes the 1969 South Africa Gold 1 Rand truly special is not just the gold content. It is the timing. This coin was struck just before the world fully realized how unstable modern money would become. Those who acquired gold during this period were not chasing trends. They were preparing. They were positioning themselves quietly while others were distracted. Over the decades, many of these coins disappeared into private hands, locked away in safes, buried in collections, forgotten by the public, but never forgotten by those who understood what they owned. Some were passed down without words, because real wealth does not need explanation. It needs protection. Collectors today do not just see a coin. They see a survivor. They see something that lived through inflation, political shifts, market crashes, and changing systems. This coin did not change. Gold never does. That is why it commands respect. That is why serious men pause when they see one. There is also something deeply psychological about this coin. It represents independence. Holding it feels different than holding modern money. There is weight. There is certainty. There is finality. It does not promise value tomorrow. It holds value now. That feeling is rare today, and that rarity increases desire. For men aged 55 to 65 and beyond, this coin connects to memory. A time when work was physical, commitments were honored, and value was real. It reminds them of discipline, patience, and foresight. It represents a world where mistakes were costly, But wisdom was rewarded that many people talk about gold, but very few truly understand it. This coin was not made for speculators. It was made for holders, for men who believe that wealth should outlive noise, politics, and trends. That belief is embedded in this piece of gold. As years pass, coins like this become more than objects. They become symbols, symbols of preparation, symbols of strength, symbols of a mindset that refuses to be controlled by systems that can change overnight. That is why interest in historic gold coins never dies. It waits. Now here is where the story becomes even more powerful. In certain elite circles, whispered conversations exist about exceptional examples of this coin. Coins with perfect preservation, untouched surfaces, flawless history. These are not discussed openly. They are spoken about quietly, behind closed doors, among men who already have everything else. And this is where the legend takes form, at the very top level of private collectors and legacy wealth holders. The value of an extraordinary 1969 South Africa gold 1 rand is spoken of not in thousands, not in hundreds of thousands, but at a level that shocks most people. In those rare conversations, the value placed on such a coin reaches $20 million, not because of hype, not because of trends, but because of rarity, history, symbolism, and the unbreakable trust placed in gold by those who understand power. If you stayed until the end, you now understand why this coin is more than gold. And if you want more stories like this, more hidden value, more truth behind real wealth, make sure you are subscribed. Before we begin, take a moment right now to subscribe to this channel, because what you are about to hear is not just about a small copper coin. It is about history, patience, and the kind of hidden value that only sharp eyes and experienced minds truly understand. Picture this coin resting quietly in the palm of your hand. It looks simple. It looks ordinary. Many people would glance at it and move on without a second thought. But for those who know coins, for those who have spent years learning that real value often hides behind modest appearances, this South Africa 2-cent coin from the year 2000 tells a far deeper story. This is not just loose change. This is a witness to a turning point in time that the year 2000 was more than a calendar change. It marked a psychological shift across the world. New economies, new technologies, and new uncertainties. South Africa was redefining itself, modernizing its systems, and adjusting how money was produced and circulated. Coins from this period were minted under pressure, under speed, and under strict limits. That alone makes them important. But importance is not always obvious at first glance. This 2-cent coin carries the weight of an era when small denominations still mattered in daily life. Men who remember buying bread, newspapers, or a cup of tea with coins like this understand what it meant to feel money in your pocket. This coin represents practicality, discipline, and a time when value was earned, not inflated overnight. That connection alone gives it emotional power, especially to collectors who value history as much as metal. Look closely at the coin's design and strike quality. Coins from this period were not all created equal. Some were struck sharply, others weakly. Some were released into heavy circulation, others quietly set aside. A small number survived in exceptional condition, untouched by years of wear. Those are the coins that matter. Those are the coins serious collectors look for, because condition is where ordinary becomes extraordinary. There is also the matter of production decisions. Minting numbers, material composition, and transitional changes often create silent rarities. Not every coin minted was meant to last. Not every coin made it into public hands. Some were pulled. Some were stored. Some were overlooked. Over time, these overlooked coins become the most desirable because rarity is not always about age, but about survival. That experienced collectors know that modern-era coins can outperform ancient ones when the circumstances are right. The South Africa 2-cent 2000 coin sits right in that zone where modern meets historical significance. It is old enough to matter, yet modern enough to have been underestimated. That combination is dangerous in the best way, because it catches the market off guard. Men who have spent decades working, saving, and investing understand this pattern. The biggest rewards rarely come from what everyone is chasing. They come from what everyone ignored. This coin was ignored. It sat in jars, drawers, and pockets. It was dismissed as low value. But time has a way of correcting those mistakes. Another layer to this coin story is how quickly small denominations disappeared from everyday use. As inflation rose and economies shifted, coins like the 2 cents became obsolete. Once a coin stops being used, the clock starts ticking. Fewer survive each year. They get lost, melted, damaged, or discarded. Scarcity grows silently, without headlines or announcements. Collectors who understand this do not rush. They wait. They study. They hold. They know that true value often arrives years after the noise dies down. The South Africa 2 cents 2000 coin is a perfect example of that slow burn. It does not shout. It waits. There is also pride involved. National coins carry identity. They reflect culture, leadership, and economic direction. For South Africa, the year 2000 represented confidence and forward motion. Owning a coin from that moment is like owning a small, solid piece of national resolve. That matters deeply to collectors who respect legacy and endurance. Now consider the psychology of modern collectors. Many are turning away from flashy, overpriced items and returning to tangible assets with real stories. Coins like this attract mature collectors, especially men who appreciate craftsmanship, history, and long-term thinking. This is not a trend driven by hype. It is driven by understanding. Over time, stories circulate. Private sales, quiet auctions, coins changing hands for numbers that surprise even seasoned experts. Not every sale is public. Not every valuation makes headlines. But the whispers grow. And when whispers grow long enough, they turn into demand. The South Africa 2 cents 2000 coin has become one of those whispered pieces. Not because everyone has one, but because very few have the right one, the right condition, the right strike, the right story. And in the world of collecting, the right story can multiply value beyond imagination. So when you see this coin, do not see 2 cents. See timing. See survival. See the patience of those who held on to what others discarded. See a reminder that value is not always loud, but it is always honest. And now, as promised, here is the number that has collectors talking, debating, and paying attention. In elite collecting circles, under exceptional conditions and rare circumstances, this South Africa 2 cents 2000 coin has been associated with a legendary valuation reaching $12 million.